But before I go into the questions, let's get to know who Dammy is.
Okay.
So, Dammy Oshodi is a dynamic storyteller and marketing professional who has embraced the art of reinvention throughout her diverse career. With a bachelor's degree in communications and biology and master's in nanomedicine, Dammy embodies the spirit of adaptability and innovation. She is a host of the acclaimed podcast Luxury State of Mind. By day, Dammy crafts impactful marketing strategies, and by night, she indulges her passion for ballet and good food. Yeah, we'll have a foodie here. Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome Dammy Oshodi.
Oh, thank you so much for reading that bio. Thank you, Anne, and thank you, Samuel, for allowing me to even talk to your community today and share a little bit about myself. But yeah, I guess I can share a little bit about me and my background. As the bio said, I have a very diverse background. I've done different things in my life and continue to keep paving a path forward that is just unique in its own way. So kind of how I started, especially, I know we're going to speak about the podcast and all of that, but kind of how I got started was I was supposed to go to medical school. That was my dream. I had said it since I was like 5 years old that I'm going to be a physician, and prepped and did all of those things, did all the testing, majored in a science degree, even got a master's degree in nanomedicine. But through that time period, and for many years, there was always this nagging that maybe there's something else for me to do, but I just never wanted to, go off that path. I just wanted to be on a very straight path. So I continued, went to go get my master's. But in having a conversation with somebody who had actually gone all the way, finished her degree in medicine very early, and then she told me that she doesn't even want to do it anymore. She doesn't even want to practice medicine. That had me really come to a realization that this may not be what I want to do. And in that time period, it was a bit strange for me that, okay, what is my next step? What am I going to do? What talents do I have? Well, luckily enough, when I was in my undergrad and even throughout my master's, I had been building this podcast. The original podcast was called The Planter. And I started that out of a desire to know, what is this idea of purpose? What is this idea of work and what you do and how it relates to just who you are as a person? So I started podcasting in 2016 before it became, what it is today, and learned how to do it on my own. And then from there, I learned to produce content online. I created blog posts, did events, or hosted events, and then also did live podcasts. And then from there, that went into teaching people how to create podcasts as well. So, and through that journey, that led me to now being in marketing. So I currently work at an agency where we work with big brands to help them with their marketing. So first going from medicine and then transitioning and then leading up to now being in marketing. But I would even say with my industry that I'm working with now, that's only a part of what I like to do. But really what my interest is helping people develop themselves to live very authentically and to really live out their passion and their talents. I believe a lot of fulfillment can come in life when you really hone in on your skills, you value them, and you live them out, because really it encourages other people. And I'm that person that when I see somebody and they tell me that, oh, I like to do this, or I can kind of see they're good at something, I'm always encouraging that, oh, you can do it like this, you can do it like that. And I'll come up with all these multiple ways of how that person can advance that skill. So that's something that I personally like to do. I find fulfillment in that. So that's the work that I get to do. And I love to speak to people and doing that through my podcast, also speaking on stages as well. So being a speaker, and then also coaching. That's something that I enjoy as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Wow, that's interesting. I'm amazed. Honestly speaking, it's stunning to hear this from you and how you're able to, hone every skill you've had and still making it relevant. Awesome. Great one, Dammy. So what's, when I was going through your bio, this kept coming in: luxury state of mind, luxury state of mind. What is that? If
Sure.
you're to tell us what's luxury state of mind.
So, Luxury State of Mind is the name of my current podcast that just launched earlier this year. And basically, Luxury State of Mind is living in a way that is authentic to you. I believe that true luxury is when you live in authenticity, when you live in a way that is purposeful and aligns with you as the person, because we can be pushed to believe that luxury is okay when you have all the nice things, designer clothes, nice cars, and we're all chasing after those things. But you will realize as you get older that maybe those things are not as important to you, but you've spent 30, 40 years or however many years chasing after things, but your own quality of life, there is no quality. So my goal is to help people to really look at their lives and not have to, because I actually spoke with an aunt a couple of weeks ago. She's in her 50s, and she was telling me that the things that I talk about, people her age are just starting to know. They're just starting to get. So it's like if we can start at our young ages now that, okay, really, what is it that I want? What do I want in life? Not what did they say I want? What did culture say I want? But what do I personally want? And let me pursue that. So luxury state of mind is broken down into three principles. The first one is identity. Second one, intentionality. And then third one is freedom of choice. So when it comes to identity, I feel like that's the core of everything. And especially in regards to this type of mindset, in order to really live a meaningful life, you have to know who you are. And of course, it's a journey, right? So we're all going on that journey. Who am I? What am I here to do? What is my calling? And then also, for me, I believe that's rooted in Christ too. So I'm a believer. So those things, I believe, start the foundation. As you continue to get to know who you are as a person, then, and you shape that vision for your life, right? The vision for where you want to be, who you are becomes clear. The second thing is you become more intentional about protecting that thing and living it out. Even if you're not there yet, you know where you're going. So you can start today. So that's one of the things that I always say on my podcast, that you don't have to wait till later. You can start today. So being intentional means, being mindful. Who are you hanging around? Are they helping you to get where you want to go, or are they hindering you? Who are you hanging around? What are you taking in? The music, the shows, or whatever. All those things, they matter because your beliefs are being shaped constantly. So if you know based off your identity, this is where I want to go, then you will tailor your life to meet that. Another thing is like, okay, what am I saying yes to? What am I saying no to? Do I want to be somebody that I work, work, work all the time and I never rest, or do I want to adopt rest into my life? So become intentional about yourself and taking care of yourself to get to where you want to go. And then number three is freedom of choice. So I believe that, and one thing that I want to do through that podcast and through my message is to empower people to make choices, even when it's hard. So being empowered to make a choice, even if, your family is maybe not aligned, because maybe where you want to go, they've never seen it before. And out of love, they're maybe telling you that, no, like you can't do this. But you yourself, you know that this is how I want to do things. Or your friends or culture will tell you that no, what you're dreaming for is not possible. Being able to stand firm in that this is what I want to do, and despite people's whatever their own limiting beliefs, I'm not going to allow that to happen, or to stop me. So I always tell people an example of maybe somebody who lives in, like here we'll call it a small town, and their whole family has lived in this place for generations. They do the same jobs, they go to the same places, nothing really changes. But this person has a dream of going somewhere bigger, doing something different. And they muster up the courage to tell them that, okay, I want to move to this place. I want to go into this industry. And the family is like, why do you want to do that? We've been doing it like this. They'll be discouraging them. Oh, don't you know it's scary out there? Don't you know, saying all of these things to discourage that person moving forward. But that person has to have that resolve to now be like, I'm going to make a choice despite. Because
Hmm.
what's funny is everybody thinks you're crazy until something happens, right? So the same people that are
Yeah.
saying, you can't do it, or you shouldn't do that, once they see the success of what you're doing now, they're like, oh, wow, like, can we, go with you? Can we get on the journey with you and all this thing? So that to me, when you look at all those three principles, that is luxury. It's about being self-assured. It's about being confident in who you are. And it's about knowing yourself so you can start building a life that is meaningful for you. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. If there was anything I got was the luxury is living in authenticity. And it just brings to mind a simpler and a wonderful definition, because when people hear luxury, oh, their mind is tilting towards money, luxury stuff, affluence, and all of that. This is really mind-blowing. And how you broke it down into three parts: identity, intentionality, and freedom of choice makes a whole lot of sense. And I assure you, my community is gaining a whole lot. And guys, if you're just joining in, this is Dammy Oshodi. I already read her bio, and we also have a bio down there in the group. You can actually go to read. And she said something: you don't have to wait till later. Now, you don't have to wait till later. All right, Dammy. Moving forward, I have another interesting question for you. I told you your bio was really mind-blowing, and I actually got encouraged by it when Sam shared it. And if you're actually familiar with the trend going on social media, there was this one that came up with it's titled collabo. So collabo in the sense that you'll get to ask, okay, what does this person do and how do you do it? And then you find out people are like a bunch of talents, and then they tell you, oh, nah, collabo. So reading your bio, like I said, from you being um from communications to marketing to nanomedicine to what's the last one, being a podcaster.
Yeah.
How are you able to do this? Because I know if I ask you which do, you tell me na collabo. So in this whole collabo of a thing, I want you to tell us, right, how are you able to thrive in this? We're a bunch of talents here, and I'm sure these are people that have more than one skills, and they're trying to see, okay, how am I able to merge this together? How do I put this together? Should I just focus on one, or I can actually multitask and do all at the same time and still thrive and be relevant? Can you tell us, how did you do this? Because this is who you are. Should I call you a polymath? I don't know if I'm going to call you a polymath, right? But how are you able to do this? Yeah, tell us, please.
Yeah, no, I love this question. Because it's funny. When I grew up, my mom meant so well when she said this, but I remember I wanted to be, I was a figure skater growing up, and I wanted to do gymnastics at the same time.
Wow.
And because a lot of ice skaters would do gymnastics to help them train. And I
Mm,
said, oh, maybe I want to do gymnastics. And she would tell me that don't be a jack of all trades because you'll become a master of none.
mm,
And I really stuck to that belief for a long time, that just focus on one thing, just
mm,
be one thing and only do one thing. Because I felt as a kid, I felt unfocused, even though now I look back, I was just kind of experimenting as you should as a young child. But I would have like one hobby and then I'll drop it. Oh, I want to write today. I'll do it for a week or two. I'll drop it. Oh, I want to paint today. I'll paint and then I'll drop it. So I felt a bit of like maybe I'm just not focused, but ice skating was the only thing that I really, really stuck with. And
mm,
so that mentality followed me even through my, medical career as well. Part of the reason why I went to stay in that medicine for so long was because I just was like, this is the only thing I should do. This is where I need to go. And, just I need to just stay focused. But I always say this thing that life will tell on you, or your life will tell on you. And that means that who you really are and the different passions and interests that you have will always show up, no matter, some, if you fall in line with them, cool. But sometimes, like myself, you just think one track mind, this is where I need to go, this is the best way to go. But you've ignored all the other things. So with science, I try to stay focused. This is what I'm going to do. But who I really am kept also showing up. So when I was 14, for example, because I like to create and also to, I think, communicate, business, all these different things. So I created like an online store and I sold t-shirts and I sold bracelets. And I would do this. I would have like business meetings late at night, and then I'd have to wake up because I would train because I was an athlete. So I would train at 6 a.m. So I had to wake up at 4 a.m. and I did this for years. But
Wow.
I would have a business meeting at 8 p.m. at night with the web designer and my mom, and we would be planning and doing all these things. So I was still practicing that gift and or that the gifts that showed up in that way for business and for just creation in general. But again, I was like, I need to stay with this medicine thing. I dropped the business. Then I said, okay, I want to write a blog. Just randomly, I said, oh, let me just write a fashion blog. And this was before like we had influencers and all these things. And I would, with that blog, I'd get a lot of engagement. I was posting often, and I was even invited or had the opportunity to go to New York Fashion Week. I didn't get to go because of school, but I had that opportunity, and I, was networking with different bloggers, and it was just fun. But again, I just was like, I need to stay on this path. I don't want to get too I don't want to get too crazy. Like, I don't want to just run off and do other things. I need to go to medical school. So I dropped that blog eventually because school just became, too much. And then
Wow.
opportunities would come in my undergrad. There was one in particular that, to travel abroad, a teacher, and actually one of my favorite teachers, because I majored in biology and then I also majored in communications.
Wow.
And one of my communications teachers gave us the opportunity or asked if we wanted to go to, I think it was Egypt, to do some kind of program for a couple of weeks. But because I didn't want to veer off again from that path and I was so focused, I just said, I'm not even going to apply for that thing. I'm not even going to, it'll be a waste of time. So that's what was my thinking previously. And now that I've had time to look over my life and look over those situations, I can see now that no, there's more to you than just one thing. Of course, some people are blessed to just, this is what they do. They know they're good at it and they stick to it. But there are people like myself that we are multifaceted, and it can be difficult. It's difficult because it's like, oh, but I like this and I like to do this. And it can be hard, but you have to give yourself that opportunity to explore that freedom. Just like when you're a child and they allow you to play with different toys and try different things. As an adult, you need to give yourself that opportunity to do those things and to see what can happen. So a perfect example of how, the merging the different skills and talents into one. So when I was in my master's program, I was in a very, science-based heavy medical program, and they wanted us to go into labs. That was their biggest thing, that, okay, we want you to get in a lab. And I remember I tried getting into a lab and I worked in the lab, like one of my classes was there, and I was like, what am I doing here? Like, I have no business being in this space. So I was very unhappy. And, they tell us that we have to do an internship in order for us to graduate. So something ended up happening with my admission one semester, and they basically told me that you can't come back for another year, right? So at this
Wow.
point, I'm out of school. I had this, job that I was working, but it's not enough, too much, I'll have way too much time on my hands. So I remember I was feeling very sad and very just disappointed with the situation because what happened was literally out of my hands. And I heard this voice say to me that, what do you want to do? That I'm waiting on you. And then I said, you know what? One of my dreams is to travel around the world and to speak. That's one of the things I want to do. So the idea finally came to I'd actually prepared a training to teach people about nanomedicine the year prior. So I spoke at one conference. So I decided to take that same talk and use that to apply to all these different medical conferences in different countries. So I applied to over 30 countries and medical conferences, and I was accepted into 3. So I spoke in Amsterdam, London, and Turkey. So I was able to use my communications, storytelling abilities to teach these doctors, nurses, pharmacists, techs, lawyers in medicine about nanomedicine.
Wow.
So it's a way in which you can, like, the opportunity or the situation looked very, meek, like it just wasn't looking good. But through that, sometimes when the situation doesn't look the best, there's opportunities to be created from those things. And then from there, I think that also encouraged me too. So even when I was still studying for my master's, I was running my podcast. I was doing events. I have never thought about doing events in my life. That was not something that I was like, I'm going to be an event planner. Like, never. But certain situations will push you to do things that you didn't even know that you are capable of doing. So I would be hosting workshops. I did that live podcasting event and just so many things. So all of that to say, and I hope I'm answering your question, but you just
you are.
I am okay. You just have to allow yourself to be free. Like, what else is there? Or I'm interested in this, just pursue it. If it doesn't work out or doesn't move forward, that's okay. Just keep trying different things. Of course, like if I had to go back, for sure, if you can have a way to sustain yourself as you're building, please do that because it will give you peace of mind. And along with that, allow yourself to be free. Like I know in the bio I have, I doing ballet. I never did ballet growing up. I don't know anything about ballet. Like literally ballet is in French.
I was asking that. How did that come in?
Oh my goodness. Like, now I've let go, and sometimes it can still be a battle with that, like trying to just be focused on one thing. But for the most part, I've really let that go and I work hard to live very freely. So I'm open to try new things. So I took a class with a friend, which wasn't a ballet class, but it was by the instructor. And I liked the instructor. I liked her, the way she taught. So I said, let me see what other classes that she has. So I saw that she does ballet classes for adults. And I was like, all right, like, let me just try it out. Like I had no expectations about like, this is how it has to go because I knew I was going in there without knowing anything. So I'm like, I'm just here to try. And I just showed up. I've been doing it now since last 6 months, 7 months or so, and I'm about to be in a recital in the next couple of weeks. I don't know how I got there. Sometimes when I say that, I'm like, what are you doing? But it's just the ability to explore, like give yourself the freedom because you don't know your potential. Like how you are today, you don't necessarily know what you'll be tomorrow. But if you stop yourself like, oh, I can't do this today, or I shouldn't pursue it, you don't know what seeds you would have been planting to produce a harvest. And that is just a way the world works. You have to sow seeds into life. And sowing seeds means, you have to take action. You have to try. You have to do something because you never know. I mean, there's countless of YouTubers who say that they produced, videos online for years before people even noticed. And then just one video went viral.
True.
And then everybody started to see, like, oh, they've had all this content. Oh my goodness. Like, you know what I mean? So we're always thinking this is the finished product. We want to get to the end, but just keep going and keep trying and just allow yourself to be free while you're doing it, to give yourself that opportunity to try.
Interesting. I got learn to explore. I could tell you that you've crossed the 7 Cs if I'm supposed to say that honestly, because you've really tried your hands in a lot of things and you're actually making wave and making progress. Thank you so much, Dammy. We'll have just one question for you, and then we'll round up our raffle draw. So the question is from Nana, and Nana says, for me, there's a lot of things I want to do right. Currently, I'm studying IT, that's system administration, and I had this perception of joining the army after. I'm a politic enthusiast too. So just yesterday, I added journal that I want to do national security for MA and then join the army after and straight to UN, right? But my influencer life won't allow. So I'm confused. This is a multifaceted person like you. What should she do?
So I may not be able to say specifically what you
Yeah.
should, like the action that you should take, but I think if you want to do it, I mean, I think I would wonder why the influencer life would be affecting that.
Yeah.
But if there's a way to kind of combine the two, then I would definitely do that, because I don't know if, especially if the influencer life is being able to provide you with, finances and all those things, then definitely I would see if there's a way to do that. Another way could be to, talk to people that are where you're trying to go, talk with them, kind of get their perception of how you can continue to blend the two. But then at some point there may be, okay, like if, going to IT is the most important thing that you really, really, really want to do, then you may just have to, see that, okay, can I pick up influencing at a later date, or is there another way to go about it? Maybe the way in which I'm doing it right now may not fit, the IT field that I want to go into. There may be a new way that you can try. So I wouldn't say officially to drop it. There may be a way to include everything, but if you could speak to people that are there and kind of get their perspective, and not somebody who's going to be like, no, you're wasting your time. No, somebody that, is thinking right, then they can maybe offer you some advice too.
It looks like Anne dropped off. We'll just thanks for those great answers. Feel like we can. I had my own question, so you may have answered this already. How did you get into advertising?
Advertising, I kind of just fell into it. I'll be honest. It wasn't planned. I think the way I positioned myself, especially from doing the podcast and all those things, I was able to, I guess the recruiter online was like, hey, I think you'd be a good fit. And they allowed me to interview, and that's kind of how I got started into it. But yeah, it wasn't something that I studied. It's funny, a lot of my coworkers, they've studied advertising and this is what they planned on doing, but I just kind of fell into it at this time. And I've learned a lot as well doing it. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And are you back, Anne?
All right, guys, I'm back. Do we still have time, Sam, for just one question? I think Anita here asked the question from the chat.
Yes, we
Sorry
do.
for the break in transmission, guys. Okay. Now, Anita says, your confidence to try things, is it driven by maybe support from closed ones? Do you ever care about what people would say when you're trying new things? She's concerned.
To be quite honest, I'm not. And I think, and it's funny because as I've grown up, a lot of people say again, like, oh, you're so confident. Oh, you're so self-assured. And I think it's just maybe a natural trait of mine to just do. I grew up as an only child, so I didn't have people to, siblings and all of that. So I had to do things a lot by myself. And I think
Wow.
I just, from that experience, I just do that. And then also, my family too, a lot of the women in my family, they just do things. They don't wait for people. So my biggest thing is I'm the one that I have to put my own head on the pillow every night and think about the decisions that I make and be fine with the decisions. And I don't want to regret not doing something because of what somebody will say. Now, of course, does that mean it's not nerve-wracking to wonder what people will say about you? Of course, like when I restarted my podcast, because I took a 3-year break and I came back, and I was nervous about, because I just started now doing video podcasting. So I was nervous and I wanted to start posting on LinkedIn. I'm like, oh God, what are people going to say? What are my coworkers going to say? And I actually didn't post for a while on LinkedIn specifically because I was just afraid. But then I said to myself, that what opportunity am I not going to gain because I'm not allowing myself to do what it is that I want to do?
Exactly.
So you have to think about that because the thing is, once you do something, it encourages other people to do it, to do whatever they wanted to do or to do the exact same thing. And sometimes you don't have to tell everybody like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. You just show out and you do it. So that's another thing too. Not everybody needs to know what you're doing. And it's a lot easier if they don't know, unless they're very close with you, because people can discourage you. And that can be based off of their own limitations, their own way of thinking. And you are thinking differently. And they're like, wow, you know, why is she doing it and I can? And they'll discourage you. So some things you just keep to yourself and you just try. I think the biggest thing is just to try.
Yeah, the biggest thing is just to try. That's a take-home word for everyone today. And not everybody needs to know what you're doing. You know, you're showing and then you show out, just like Dammy did. Interesting. We'd love to hear you more from your podcast. Probably you share links with us and we'll get more insights. So, Sam, over to you. We'll have a raffle draw, so Dammy, stay behind. You might just win something. Who knows? So, Sam, let's hear you.
Awesome, awesome. Great presentation. Quickly, we're going to do a raffle draw, and if you're on this call and don't see your name, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to spin. All right. Everybody sees their names. I'm going to spin. It's for $10.
It's $10. Oh, someone says I'm about to win this. Let's see.
Okay.
Yay! I won! Oh my God. I told you guys, host with the most. Okay, I'm going to share my daughter with Dammy. Because she's a host like me, right?
Promise.
Hey guys, say congratulations to me. Come on. Who is saying Ojoro?